Welcome back. Now it's time to start thinking about network address translation, or NAT, as we tend to call it for short. So let's take a look at our diagram and see what we're going to be working with. We've got our student desktop. We're going to be accessing a web page ultimately at 80.80.80.1. Now, that address doesn't exist in our environment. That's what we're going to build out. So we're going to build that out on a new tier 1 gateway called T1GW02-NAT. We're going to put that or attach to that gateway a segment, a brand new segment called NAT segment. And we've got our NAT virtual machine that we're going to go ahead and attach to that. And that's going to end up hosting the web server that we're trying to connect to. Now, that web server is actually at 172.16.101.11. So we're going to build a NAT rule to allow for that to function. So let's go ahead and get all of this out of the way and see how we're going to make this all happen. So first things first, we will prepare for the lab. So we need to make sure that NSX is here. We're logged into that. And we need to go and make sure that the vCenter is available. And I'm going to go ahead and instead of doing what I've done every other lab so far, where I've opened up vCenter and tried to log in and gotten that red bar, that error across the top, we'll go ahead and just open that up. Open up refresh this tab to the vSphere client URL, and we'll get our username and password in here. And go ahead and log in. And look at that. No error message across the top this time. Look at me learn. So now we're prepared for the lab, and we're going to need this because we've got our tier 2 NAT, or our T2, not necessarily tier 2, but T2 NAT that we're going to work with here. So we need to be able to work with this and manage that. But the first thing we need to do is get our NSX infrastructure set up. So let's come back over to NSX. We're not going to worry about security here. In networking, however, we're going to go ahead and build out our tier 1 gateway. So let's do that. We'll call this one T1 GW02 NAT. There we go. And there's my description that I like to put in things. We're going to leave this at active standby. Right? We're going to make this active standby, and because we need that service router component on the edge node. So we're going to link this tier 1 gateway up to our BGP tier 0 gateway. That's the one we've been using for a while. It's been working well for us. We're going to go ahead and associate this tier 1 gateway with the Edge Cluster 1 edge cluster. And, we need to make sure that failover is continued to be set to non-preemptive. Now, we also need to come into route advertisement. We want static routes and connected segments like we have been. Since we're going to be working with NAT, let's go ahead and turn on redistribution, or advertisement rather, of our NAT IP addresses. So we'll scroll down a little bit here, save this, and no, we don't need to configure any more of this. We're good with our T1 GW02 NAT gateway. What else do we need to do? We're going to come over here to segments and create our NAT segment, right? We saw that in the diagram. So let's build that out, NAT segment. And we'll go ahead and connect that to our tier 1 gateway to NAT gateway. This does need to be an overlay network, so we'll find the right transport zone for us here. And we need 172.16.101.1/24. That's the subnet that we're in here. What do we not like about this? Let me type that again. 172. That was a comma. All right, whatever I had wrong in there, it's better now. It was probably a comma. It's tough to see the difference between a comma and a dot here in this UI. But anyway, that's not important. That's what we need. We're going to go ahead and save this. And no, I don't need to configure or continue configuring that. So there's that. Now Now that we've got the segment created and the gateway created, we can come back over here to vCenter and edit the settings of our T2NAT 01 virtual machine. And we can plug this in. We can plug this into our NAT segment. There it is. And we'll go ahead and hit OK there. Make sure that the connected checkbox is good. And that is that. All right. Infrastructure. Infrastructure is all set up. Right, and I'm gonna go one step further and show you that infrastructure is set up. 172.16.101.11. Right, we can get there. That's not in the lab guide, guys. That's not in the lab guide at all. So that's just a check to say, hey, look, we're there. Now, we don't want to access this server at 172.16.101.11. We want to access it at 80.80.80.1. So we need to build some NAT rules. So coming back into NSX, under networking, we've got our NAT configuration header over here on the left. So we'll come in here and we'll add a NAT rule, but we want to add a NAT rule on the correct gateway. Right? This is probably going to be the biggest thing that trips you up when you're trying to do things like configure NAT rules, is remembering to configure the rule on the correct gateway. So here we're going to make sure T1GW02 NAT is selected. It's great. And we want to add a NAT rule. So we'll call this our source NAT rule. And to match the name, let's go ahead and change the action to source NAT. The source IP address is what we want to match, right? So we're doing a source NAT. We want to match the source IP address of the virtual machine, 172.16.101.11, and we want to translate that to 80.80.80.1. Right, that's what we're gonna set this to. We'll go ahead and on the firewall, let's go ahead and bypass that just to make sure it all works. You may choose to match the internal or external address, right? The internal address would be my source. My external address would be my translated. But here we're just going to bypass the firewall. So we'll go ahead and save this rule. And then we'll go ahead and create a destination NAT rule. Now I don't have to change the action at all. It's right there. The destination IP is going to be 80.80.80.1, right? That's what we're going to listen on. That's what we want to try and match as it comes in. And we want to translate that to 172.16.101.11, right? That's where my server lives. And again, we want to bypass the firewall. So let's go ahead and save this. So now we have a source NAT that matches 172.16.101.11 and translates to 80.80.80.1, right? So we send packets from the NAT VM out past this tier 1 gateway with a source IP address of 80.80.80.1. And then we have our destination NAT rule so that when a packet gets to this destination, or not to this destination NAT, but gets to this virtual machine or gets to this gateway, really, that it's going to on 80.80.80.1 will be translated to and forwarded to 172.16.101.11. So let's see all of this in action. First, we're going to verify. We want to make sure that we've got some NAT going on here, some rules and some routes and things. So we're going to open up a connection to SA-VIOS 01. Where is that? There it is, down in miscellaneous. All right, SA-VIOS 01, and we're going to come in here and run show IP route. That's going to show us the routing table. I don't know about you, but as I look through this, I don't see anything here on this router. And this router is the next hop upstream from my tier 0 gateway. I don't see anything telling this gateway how to get to 80.80.80.1. And I don't see a route for that. I see a bunch of 172.16 routes and a couple of 172.10 or 20.10 and 20.11 routes and some 192.168 routes, but no 80.80.80.1. But we advertised NAT routes from the Tier 1 gateway, right? We did. But what didn't we do? Stop and think about that for just a second. What did we not do as far as routing goes related to that NAT gateway? As you're thinking about it, if you start thinking about the Tier 0 gateway and route redistribution, you're absolutely right. So let's come back to NSX and look at our BGP T0 gateway. Let's actually go ahead and edit this gateway. And we need to edit this because down here under route redistribution, we need to look at our redistribution rule. And let's go ahead and, oh no, sorry. I need to edit this. I was going the right direction first. And edit our route redistribution rules. And we're advertising that NAT route from the Tier 1 gateway to the Tier 0 gateway. But the Tier 0 gateway is not redistributing that route to BGP, right? Because the NAT IP box here is not checked. So let's go ahead and check that and apply. And we'll go ahead and add that and apply that one more time and save this configuration and close editing. That's a whole lot of buttons just to say, yes, I'm done. Did that do what we wanted it to do? Here we are back at VIOS, right? We went back to MT-PuTTY. We're going to run show IP route again. And here, now we have it. Now we have a route. My VIOS router, my external router, knows that to get to 80.80.80.1/32, to get to that one host, that we need to drive traffic into that Tier 0 gateway. So we're good here. We're good here. We're also going to go look at our edge real quick while we're here. And I happen to have a connection to SA NSX Edge 02 available right here, still connected. If you don't have this connected, go ahead and just open up the connection, right? It's right there under the NSX inventory. And we're going to do our get gateways and look at that. And we want to look for the service router for BGP T0 GW, not the VRF. There we go. That's the one. And so that's VRF ID 1. It may be different in your environment. That's what it is here. So we're going to type VRF1 to go ahead and enter that namespace. And now we kind of want to look at the routing table. Get route. And there we go. And there's our route to 80.80.80.1/32. Notice the flag on this, T1N, right? That tells me that this is a Tier 1 NAT route. So it's pretty easy for us to kind of identify where that route came from. So let's go ahead and open up a new tab. We have our NAT web server bookmark up here that takes us to 80.80.80.1. And look at that. There's our NAT server test page with a monster VM happy and waiting for us. So look at that. NAT works. We did have to go through a couple of extra things, right, with routing to make sure that the network knew how to forward packets where it needed to forward them. But we got there in the end. So that is lab number 17, right? We're going to come back. We've got a couple of cool labs left, but we're getting close. We'll see you soon.